Hey YouTube, what's up? Scarecrow here. I'm here today, I'm here today to talk about some playtesting of AL4 so far. Those of you who know me know that I like to playtest all of the V series stuff as soon as I can before it comes out, start to get an idea of and learn the decks. Um, and I've been testing Shadows and DI. Only kind of just started with DI. Got a lot of testing done so far for Shadows. It takes a long time to test these. I try to get. My goal is to hit at least 10 games per clan per matchup. So, like, it's going to take a long time. But, like, Shadows, I got in 3 games against 7 clans so far. So I can tell you a lot about this so far. Still got a ways to go, but it is not very good. Shadows are pretty darn disappointing. So to get right straight to results so far, I played against 7 clans with Shadows yesterday. Like 3 games per clan, and if this were a tournament, like best 2 out of 3 versus those clans, Shadows would have 1 win and 6 losses. That's pretty bad. And to translate that into game terms, because even when I was doing the 3 games, I still played 3 games even if it was already decided in the first 2. Shadows have 6 game wins and 15 losses. So it loses like 3 times as much as it wins so far. And 3 of those wins come from like a single clan, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So, yeah. This deck is not very good. So like the grade 1, I like the grade 1s in the deck. They were all pretty good. I really like the main. Charon or Sharon, whatever you want to call it, is pretty good because it's a soul charger or counter charger. Javelin's good to draw. Painter can get you soul and be a little beefy. The Rugos grade 1 was kind of cool. I tested that out a little bit. The grade 2s, Maka is great. I surprisingly like Blaster Dark more than I thought I would. I actually do like that card. The other grade 2 wise is kind of like meh. You can kind of like experiment around with them like I have, but grade 2 lineup is a little bit missing in the 3rd row. And then like the grade 3s, they're okay, but they're not like great, and I feel like they're what's holding like the clan back. Like Phantom Blaster Dragon is a not very great card. It's not bad. Like his skill to inflict damage, you don't get to use like that often. In my experience, because you have to have the grade 3 in the soul, and your opponent has to like not be at 5. And if they're at like 4, but you're gonna go for the crit, like putting them at 5 even matter. His skill to retire 3, retire and kill 3, and get 15 a crit, it's kind of useful, but it's like there are times where you want his crit, but your opponent doesn't have rear guards. That happens a lot. And there are times where you want to kill things, but like you're just gonna get PG'd anyway, which is fine, I guess. But I'm not a big fan of the card. I don't think it helps the clan enough. I like Dark Dictator. That card's pretty cool, where you counterblast, call a card, buff it, kill a card. Like, it's counterblast 1 for a +1 and a buffed up rear guard, and he's big all the time. I found that actually really helpful. He's a good card to finish the opponent once you get them at 5, or just throughout the game in general, because he's just big, because he powers up for the rear guards. Bipe Car, that card's pretty cool too, because it's a Vanguard and rear guard skill. It's not like a great Vanguard, but if you ride it, it's not the end of the world. It gives you free rear guards every turn. And on the rear guard, it's even better because it's giving you free rear guards all the time, but you still have like a boss card effect going on. But yeah, like the deck isn't like that good. as obviously from its record, it doesn't win very much. Against OTT, it just OT. We all know how good OTT is. Grand Blue was also pretty hard. It did get one game win against Grand Blue. It kept hitting. The Shadows kept getting its triggers, used like all of its perfect guards, and because it was such a like hard grindy game, like the Grand Blue just ran out of cards and decked out. Uh, but like I'm sure playing more and more, like Grand Blue would just win because like the Shadows were really never in a position to win just by like winning, like dealing 6 damage. So I would say Grand Blue would definitely take that a lot. D Police, this deck just couldn't like touch D Police. D Police 3-0'd it, OTT 3-0'd it, Grand Blue went 1-2 or 2-1 against it. Tachikaze went 3-0 against it. Turns out, making Tachikaze's retire rear guards, the Tachikaze don't really care. And they hit really hard. And yeah, Tachi's 3-0'd it. Spike Brothers, it got a win in on Spike Brothers because Spike Brothers got really unlucky. They damage checked like really quickly, like 3 of their Zefrieds, and just didn't draw the other one. Were stuck on Juggernaut and kept drawing Juggernauts, and it was bad. Like the Spike Brother deck got really unlucky, so it lost to Shadows that game. It's hard to call that like a noticeable win. Aquaforce had a much harder time than others so far, because Phantom Blaster retiring 3 rear guards is actually really hard on Aquaforce, and yet Aquaforce still took it 2 wins, 1 loss. So under the deck that actually like lost all 3 games to Shadows, which is another topic, is that strange noise you'll hear is my daughter playing in the other room, is Darker Regulars. Now there's not nearly as many cards revealed for Darker Regulars as there are Shadows, so this deck could definitely get better with more reveals. But just to get an idea of it, this camera is very shaky today, I got it together and started testing it, and mostly so far I played a bunch versus just like Shadows. And as bad as Shadows are so far, the bad news is the deck that lost 3 times to Shadows was this deck. I haven't got to actually test it versus the other decks yet, but as you can probably like start to think, you're like, oh man, this deck lost to the deck that was doing really bad. You're like, that's a bad sign, and that's what I'm worried about. Darker Regulars here have a lot not going on for them. They have some cool stuff they do, but there's a lot of problems I can already tell you so far in this deck. It does not soul charge enough cards fast enough, and yet like it has problems with decking out, and your rear guards are really weak. Like there are so many times where I just can't attack anything because my rear guards are weak when I'm playing against like a force deck. The deck is slow. You're not doing very much. Saying all this is weird because I thought this deck was going to be like really good. It looked like it was probably the best deck in that set, and yet like it's looking really bad so far. Like you just can't close out the win. Like you're not putting enough pressure on the opponent up until you go for your big kill plays with like Death Anchor and stuff. Early game, it's a really good idea to try and ride Demon Eater. Her ability that when you're guarding, after your guardians guard, they go to the soul. That's like the best way to try and build up your soul quickly. Like I had a really hard time getting my soul up to like 13 in preparation for Death Anchor. If I wasn't on Demon Eater, if I had to ride Death Anchor first or something, it was really hard. So Demon Eater is a good way to start. She'll build up your soul fast, and then having her in the soul so that you could tag from Death Anchor into her is a good idea too. But yeah, yeah. So far, the grade 1 lineup really kind of sucks. There's only like 4 that we know. A 15k Vanilla Shield, Prisoner Beast, which is a good card. Veruca, whatever that card is, the guy who when he guards, you soul charge, and if he goes to soul, you give 10 to the Vanguard. I don't really get to utilize that guy that often. I kind of don't like him right now. By himself, he's not that great. And then there's like a werewolf guy who can put himself in the soul to soul charge and give someone +5. Like, this grade 1 lineup is kind of blah. And hopefully we get some much better grade 1s to help the deck in more reveals. And then the grade 2 lineup, there's Rufen. When you play him, you get to choose a card in your damage, add it to your soul, and then damage yourself a card face down. If it was whoever that guy, that grade 1 is, the werewolf wearing the red coat, put that in, you can soul charge or counter charge. There's Gwen the Ripper. He's cool. You get the soul charge. If you have 10 soul, you can counter blast kill something. Like, the Gwen would be almost good. I could almost call it good if he got power, but like, he's just not doing enough. And there's Werebear grade 2, who's only 8k, but you can counter blast when attacking to soul charge and power up for the soul, which is kind of cool. But like, to get into the other, there's Zeger, Werewolf Zeger, who gets +5 if you have 5 in soul, and when he's on Vanguard and he attacks, he soul charges too. There's just not enough aggression in this deck to push the opponent into a corner for Death Anchor to finish him off. And like, it's real. That's just the problem I've had. Like, it can do some cool stuff, like comboing like Death Anchors and stuff. At one point I had like 5 Protect gifts in my hand. There was like no way I was going to be like die from damage, but I just deck out because I couldn't kill my opponent and I ran out of cards like all the time. There's something like really wrong. DI needs some help. Like, this deck is looking weak. Shadows is looking weak. I would have started testing Pale Moon so far. That deck looks promising, but I can't actually test it yet. We don't know enough. I haven't gotten around to Murakumo yet either, but like, I'm kind of worried for AL4 right now. Like, both these decks are like, I didn't really expect Shadows to be that great. I thought like Darker Regulars looked really good because of how good Death Anchors and some stuff, but like, surprisingly, it's like really bad. I'm worried for the set right now. It could change, but yeah. So that's basically it for today's video. I just wanted to give you guys a look into what I've seen so far for my testing. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.